August 28th, 2011 was a day that we'll always remember. Hurricane Irene came up the coast and caused significant flooding that day in the Schoharie Valley.
Hurricane Irene did something that nothing had done before, and that was move our church out of the Schoharie Valley. It's hard to believe that a little bit of rain can do what was done. But it's also hard to believe that God, through all of that, has been more than we could ever have anticipated. Our first concern on that day, and actually the day before, was the safety of our people. Our concern was our people, were they going to be okay? You see, a building is not what the church is. The church is not about buildings, it's not about pews, it's not about pulpits, it's not about hymn books, it's not about things, it's about people. We were so thankful and so very proud of the volunteer firefighters and police officers, though not volunteer, the EMTs and paramedics who were volunteers as well, the National Guard, making sure that the community of Middleburg, Schoharie, and these other communities that were flooded drastically, that all the people were safely moved out. As a matter of fact, by the time that I had called, many of our folks and others had called our folks, they were already gone. They had already been evacuated out by emergency personnel, and we're so very thankful for them. I can honestly say I don't know what went through my mind that morning, other than the thought of, well, we're going to get some water. We need to get some things up out of the water. But in the 15 to 20 minutes we were at the property on that Sunday morning, the water rose almost 18 inches in 20 minutes. I realized at that time that probably the flood was going to be far more than we anticipated. The day that the hurricane happened, we knew that we would probably get flooded, but we never envisioned 12 feet of water on our church property.
It was difficult when I came back on Monday morning and took a four-wheeler back the driveway through still standing water and went in the house, went in the seed barn, saw the damage that the water had done, saw the mud, just the mess, the way the water had just thrown things everywhere. It was disheartening, to say the least. I really did not expect the damage and the levels that the waters reached. We had 6 feet in the auditorium, 5.5 feet in the seed barn. We had 3 feet in our house when it was all said and done. We lost 200,000 John and Romans. We lost staplers, we lost our trimmers, and our buildings were devastated.
It was not a surprise to see water doing damage on the property. But to see 12 feet of water was beyond anything we could have visualized.
Despite that, I knew that God was still in control. We tell ourselves that, we read that in the Bible, we know that that's a promise of God. But oftentimes we take it for granted, and then a situation like that comes along and we remind ourselves of that, and we realize that He still is in control.
But I know this, God's faithful. He's been faithful since August 28th, 2012, and He was faithful before that day. We knew He would take care of us. We knew He would take care of the people. We didn't know where we were going to meet. We were expecting, right after the flood, to meet under a tent, and we were ready for that. And so to see God provide the building that we're currently meeting in, the church here was struggling. It had gone through some great heartaches in the past. But God, again, in His faithfulness, had allowed them to maintain this building and keep it safe. And when they realized that we had a need, they allowed us to begin to meet in the building. We met at separate times, but after just a couple of weeks, they began to meet with us. Their hearts knit with our hearts. And so the remaining 3 members of this church merged with our church, and this building became Valley Bible Baptist Church. And we have not missed a single service because of not having a place to meet since the day of the hurricane. We've not missed a service because of that. We've met in this building ever since. We're so grateful to see what God has done here. We're also excited to see what God is going to do in days ahead.
Ultimately, with the help of Bearing Precious Seed, Milford, Ohio, allowing us the use of a trimmer and some staplers, sending us scriptures, Burmese, John, and Romans, covers and boxes. We were able to be back up and running, doing projects, doing the assembly of the scriptures in just over 2 months.
It was amazing to me that in less than 2 months after the hurricane, our scripture publishing ministry, Northeast Baptist Seed Line, was up and running again. Here we are a year later, and we have already sent out tens of thousands of John and Romans from new scriptures that have come in since the flood. Church planting scriptures, scriptures for Burma. We're getting now to do some Spanish tracts for Mexico, or Spanish John and Romans, excuse me, for Mexico. And God has done all of that through caring people, many of you maybe, that gave toward the ministry here.
August 28th was the flood. First week of November, we had those scriptures and equipment, and we were able to go to 2 churches that November and do assembly projects. By January, we were back to our regular rotation of annual scripture projects, January, February, March. And at the beginning of the year, it was clear to me that we would not only perhaps attain the same production levels that we were at before the flood, but perhaps even exceed those levels.
I wish I could tell you what God has in store for our future, but I can tell you what I believe God has for our future. Since we have been in this location in Cobleskill, we have seen more visitors from our soul winning and visitation program in the last 6 months than we had seen in the previous 6 years of knocking on doors in our previous location. God has opened a brand new door for our church ministry here that I've just presented to our church family, a ministry to get the gospel to every home in the Schoharie County and possibly in the capital region in days ahead through a video and a computer ministry that we're looking at.
I believe that God is going to allow this ministry to continue to grow, to produce scriptures, both for here at home and overseas. I believe churches are going to get involved. We've seen new churches get involved with doing scripture assembly projects. We have had opportunities at several different conferences to make new contacts, to be able to present the ministry. And I really believe that God is going to open some doors, and has already opened doors, for us to be able to have a greater impact in the area of scripture publishing.
God would not have brought us through what He has brought us through if He doesn't have something special in store.
We thank the Lord for the trials, and we thank the Lord for His hand that has brought us through those difficult times. And also for all the churches that helped financially, that gave love offerings. Some took a portion of their Christmas offerings, some took up special offerings to help not only my family and I replace some of the things that we had lost, but also those who helped financially.
We're thankful for so many people who have made it possible for this ministry to go forward. So thank you for those that have kept this building available for us. Thank you for those of you that have given toward helping us get back up on our feet. And thank the Lord for His faithfulness toward us. All I can say is this: to God be the glory. Great things He hath done.